Yo, what is up, everyone? My name is Jack Cross from NASCAR on MDK. Welcome back to another episode of Inside the Lines. It's going to be more of a mini episode because I want to talk about a certain individual in the NASCAR garage by the name of Bubba Wallace. Obviously, for those of you that don't know him, he's the only African-American that's participating in the NASCAR Cup Series, driving the number 43 Camaro ZL1 for Richard Petty Motorsports. Now, before I really get into it, Monday, after Dover, he sent some pretty cryptic messages, kind of dark messages. I don't know what's going on. Some people have rumor for it to be that him and his girlfriend Amanda broke up. I'm not really gonna get into it again. That's just a rumor. They have unfollowed each other on Twitter, and Amanda deleted, it looked like, all of her tweets, at least from my point of view. So, but I'm not really gonna confirm anything. That's just a speculation. However, it also could be another reason, and that is his time at Richard Petty Motorsports. Now, for those who don't know, after the Dover race on Monday, FS1 went back to the regularly scheduled programming, which was Speak for Yourself with Marcus Wiley and Jason Whitlock. I think that's how you pronounce their names, Marcus Wiley. And around the 30-minute mark of Speak for Yourself, Jason Whitlock, just from out of nowhere, had like a moment to speak for himself. And he talked about NASCAR, specifically with Bubba Wallace, and the fact that he's not securing any sponsorship. I found it to be very interesting, number one, the fact that they're even talking about NASCAR at all. Wasn't expecting that. So it is nice to see that NASCAR is getting some sort of talk, I guess you could say, from a different perspective, from a not really just from a different sport, but from an African-American journalist. So I will say it is kind of a shock to see that. I kind of enjoyed seeing that, but at the same time, the topic that he was talking about and the way he expressed it, I had a lot of issues with. Now, I do want to point out one thing, that I understand what Whitlock said was out of the goodness of his heart. He was speaking from his heart. He was speaking out of just wanting the opportunity for Bubba to succeed, having an African-American to succeed in NASCAR. However, his points as to explaining why Bubba, or reasoning that Bubba can't get sponsorship, is kind of, I don't want to say wrong, but he doesn't know the full grasp of it. And to be honest, I was also kind of surprised that a lot of people actually were talking about this. I mean, when Speak for Yourself posted this, I mean, if you look at the tweet right now as I'm recording this, it already has 116 retweets and 330 likes. I mean, but for a NASCAR video on Speak for Yourself, that's pretty big for me. So I figure I might as well talk about it. So we're going to dissect this video, going through piece by piece and the points that he is making. First off, he mentions this about Bubba Wallace in the term of he can drive.
Charismatic and good looking. It's a mystery to me that Wallace and his number 43 aren't flooded with corporate sponsors. In 2018, during his debut season with Richard Petty Motorsports, Bubba finished second in the Daytona 500. So let's don't pretend the kid can't drive.
Okay, so this already tells me he does not watch NASCAR, or he only watches the Daytona 500 and maybe the Southern 500 and maybe both Talladega races. Like, he's the casual NASCAR fan. Because if any NASCAR fan knows that Daytona is the worst way to judge a driver's talent. Case in point, Trevor Bayne. He won the Daytona 500, but didn't do jack for the rest of his career, and now he doesn't even have a cup ride anymore. So, yes, finishing second at Daytona, is that a big deal? Yes, absolutely. Especially for an African American, that's a huge deal. But no one's career should be based off of one race, specifically the Daytona 500, where it is more luck than skill in order to get a good finish. Now, I'm not saying the kid can't drive. I'm not saying Bubba Wallace is a great driver. I'm just saying that judging it off of Daytona is not really the best way to determine if a driver is actually a good driver.
Auto racing comes down to sponsorship dollars. For some reason, NASCAR's Tiger Woods and the most powerful name in motorsports, King Richard Petty, can't attract enough sponsorship dollars to be competitive. This makes no sense. Corporate America allegedly is bending over backwards in the name of diversity and inclusion. What could be more diverse and inclusive and historic than a 25-year-old black kid from Mobile, Alabama, driving Richard Petty's number 43? Maybe Bubba is too boy next door, or maybe corporate America just wants the sport of the South to die and go away. It frustrates me that Wallace and Richard Petty Motorsports are dying financially at a time when Nike bankrolls a quarterback who hasn't played football in 3 years. Which brings me to my larger point. Corporate America will finance the resistance and other shallow attacks on our country, but it can't muster the courage to support Bubba Wallace? Really?
Now that last part I have a major problem with. Him saying that corporate America wants the sport from the South to die, and how he goes on to say that how corporate America allegedly bends over backwards for diversity, but doesn't go their way to sponsor Bubba Wallace. Well, the thing is that they do. Like, allegedly, they do. There's actual proof that corporate America, at least in NASCAR, it does exist. I can give you 3 perfect examples. 2 of them, you don't even have to look far. Number 1, Daniel Suarez. He has help from Eris. Suarez, he's not even an American. He's from Monterrey, Mexico, and he has help from Eris. Case in point, number 2, Kyle Larson, an Asian American. He has help from Credit One Bank and McDonald's, one of the biggest companies to be part of corporate America, or at least to be mentioned in corporate America. And the third one, Hailie Deegan, part of the NASCAR K&N Pro Series, at 17-year-old girl, she already has help from Monster Energy. So saying that diversity, allegedly, like you don't know if corporate America exists in terms of diversity in NASCAR, saying allegedly is completely false. There is proof of it, and those are the ones you just think on the top of my head. I'm pretty sure there's a lot more of it, but those are the ones I can think of at the top of my head. Alright, so now he makes this comparison on how, okay, we cannot sponsor Bubba Wallace, but we can sponsor Colin Kaepernick. First off, that is 2 completely different cases, alright? Bubba Wallace hasn't done anything really politically wise, political in any sort of circumstances. Colin Kaepernick took a stand against, against oppression, against, fighting for justice in America. Gets a lot of publicity, of course, sponsors are going to come by. But again, his thinking that, why can't sponsors just go to Bubba Wallace and sponsor him? Yes, he's an African American. Yes, that's going to attract publicity. If an African American succeeds in NASCAR. Here's the issue though. Look at the team he's on. He's at Richard Petty Motorsports. I know the phrase nowadays, performance doesn't lead to a successful career. And NASCAR nowadays, that really doesn't mean anything. We have so many paid drivers within the sport. All you really need is to have a rich dad, and you can have a good ride in NASCAR. But in this situation, performance is still key. If you look at Richard Petty Motorsports, they are in major financial trouble. Just like Whitlock said in that piece there, they're in financial trouble. They're dying. Why would a sponsor go to a team that is literally on the verge of bankruptcy, just that they don't even know if they can even come out of? It's like, don't reach for something that you don't know if it's gonna save them or not. Because if it's not, if it doesn't help them, you're hurting yourself. Now, for those of you that aren't too up to date on Richard Petty Motorsports and their recent history, we should go back to how they handled their previous major sponsor back in 2017. When Eric Almirola announced that he would be leaving Richard Petty Motorsports at the end of the 2017 season, Smithfield eventually left as well. However, the way Richard Petty and the team handled how Smithfield left was completely unprofessional. So you have a team that's on the verge of financial trouble, bringing out poor results. Because we should point out, at the time of this recording, which is before Kansas, Bubba is 28th in points. He is just 2 spots away from being below the top 30. That is how bad Richard Petty Motorsports is right now. So you have a team that's on financial bankruptcy, on the verge of financial bankruptcy, putting out horrible finishes, cannot handle major sponsorships in a professional manner. Can you, does it surprise you that no one wants to sponsor or at least finance Richard Petty Motorsports in a massive way? And here's the thing, it's kind of funny that I think the reason why Richard Petty is still even in business is because of Bubba Wallace. Because again, I just listed out all these issues that Richard Petty Motorsports have, yet sponsors are still coming to them. They have that long-time partnership with STP. I mean, think about it, I can list 2 off the top of my head. How about Aftershocks? They came in for 2019. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, they actually have a sort of also a personal partnership with Bubba Wallace himself and sunglasses and all that. And also Worldwide Technology, which is an African American owned company that is also starting to have a presence in NASCAR with them buying the rights to Gateway Motorsports Park to become Worldwide Technology Motorsports Park. So the fact that Bubba is even in the team is the reason why I think Richard Petty is still in financial business. It proves that I think Bubba, he can find a way to bring in sponsorship because he has a personality. Like Whitlock said, he has a personality, he has a charisma, and he has the skill. He's just on the wrong team. And that is the main issue of it. It's not corporate America turning their backs on diversity, because again, I just told you earlier in the show, in this video, I gave you 3 examples of 3 different minorities and of citizens in NASCAR: a Mexican, an Asian American, and a woman. All 3 of them have sponsorship help. Bubba Wallace, he can have sponsorship help. Again, Worldwide Technology and Aftershocks. He's just on the wrong team. He's on a team that is on the verge of financial bankruptcy and cannot handle, or at least has a history of not handling, big time sponsorships in a professional manner. That's really all that can be said. That's really the reason why Bubba Wallace has been able to attract sponsorship. Now, how can he attract sponsorship? It's simple. He needs to get out of Richard Petty Motorsports. Richard Petty Motorsports is, and I know I don't like to compare stick and ball sports, but it's like the Cleveland Browns of the of NASCAR. Again, then this is before what the Cleveland Browns will do. Like in terms of history, Cleveland Browns was known as, and I'm going to quote Urinary Tree, a place where players and coaches go to die. That is what Richard Petty Motorsports is nowadays. It's a place where you end your career, or you want to end your career, it seems like. And it's like a last effort, like a last resort for is to go to Richard Petty Motorsports if you want to stay in NASCAR and some big and have some big presence. Bubba Wallace, he needs to leave Richard Petty Motorsports. That's the only way he's going to be able to attract sponsors. Even going to Front Row Motorsports, that would be 10 times better than where he's at Richard Petty Motorsports. At least Front Row, they got stability. Yes, they have 3 drivers, but I'm saying if there was a spot opening, Front Row would be another perfect place for Bubba. It's got stability. It's got that Ford horsepower. We've seen them improve on the super speedways. Germain Racing, also, it's a stable company. He can very easily improve at that organization. It's, again, and I'll close out with saying this: corporate America is not turning their backs, or at least Whitlock would say, wanting the South to die, or at least NASCAR to die. That is 100% false. Bubba is just at the wrong team. That's the only reason why he's not able to attract sponsorship. I guarantee you, if he was at another team, if he, again, like I just mentioned, if he was at Front Row Motorsports, or if he was at Germain Racing, or Levine Family Racing, we would not be having this issue. I guarantee you, Bubba would have attracted some big time sponsors. It's just that he's on a team that is financially struggling and cannot handle big time sponsorships in a professional manner. That makes sponsors turn away. That makes corporate America turn away from Richard Petty Motorsports. Bubba Wallace, he has personal sponsorships, but he has very few sponsorships that include him and the team. There's a reason for it. Many people would like to sponsor Bubba in terms of a professional manner, in terms of, just that guy advertising. But very few want to associate themselves with Richard Petty Motorsports. I mean, there was even a report that came out earlier in the year that they barely made it out of Daytona, barely made it to Atlanta. That alone, I don't care who you are, that alone, as a sponsor, as an owner of a company, that would not make me want to sponsor a team. If a team is struggling to leave to make it to the second race of the season, not the 25th or the 32nd, the second race of the season, why would I want to sponsor them? Again, I said earlier, don't reach out for something don't reach for your hand to grab someone if you don't know if it's going to save them from it. It's like if they're leaning off of a cliff, don't reach out for your hand if you don't know if it's going to save them or not, because then you're just going to put yourself in trouble. And that's why I see a lot of companies with Richard Petty Motorsports. They don't know if spending all this money is going to help this team because they're on the verge of dying. So I can't be surprised to see sponsorships not going to Richard Petty Motorsports. It's not corporate America turning their backs on African Americans in NASCAR. It's Richard Petty Motorsports is the reason why Bubba is not having the sponsorship. And the kid can drive. He can drive. Again, just for a bit of proof, I compared Bubba Wallace's 2018 2017 stats, which was the last time that Smithfield was with Richard Petty Motorsports in terms of financially helping them stay afloat. If you compare Bubba Wallace's 2017 stats in the 4 races that he participated in, which is Pocono, Michigan, Daytona, and Kentucky, compared to Eric Almirola's 2016 stats on those same 4 races, Bubba Wallace has a better average finish than Eric Almirola. Bubba Wallace has a 17.8 average finish, I believe, and Eric Almirola had a 21.5 average finish between those 4 races. Kid can drive. He has won in the Cape World Truck Series. He has remained very consistent in the Xfinity Series. I will admit, I don't think he's ready for Cup, mainly because he wasn't really ready by the time Richard Petty signed on to him, because at that time he hadn't run a Cup race after Kentucky. He did run a truck race at Michigan, which he won, by the way, but that was it for the rest of the year. And then 2018, he signs on to the Cup Series. So it's kind of no surprise that, you know, he's not ready for Cup, but very little blame can be put on Bubba. It's majority on Richard Petty Motorsports. Richard Petty Motorsports is the reason why Bubba is not for 70% of the fault lies on Richard Petty Motorsports as a reason why Bubba can't perform and get sponsorship. If Bubba wants to be successful or at least have sort of major impact on NASCAR, he has to leave Richard Petty Motorsports. But I don't know what really was going to happen with that team. Again, I mentioned at the start of the show, he put out a couple of dark, cryptic messages. So hopefully he's on good terms. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting to see, because I believe Bubba's contract ends next year, if I'm not mistaken. And I think they signed like a multi-year contract, or a 2-year or 3-year contract. So I believe it ends next year. So, but yeah, if I were Bubba, I would get out of Richard Petty Motorsports, because you're not going to have a successful career if you stay with that team. But those are just my thoughts on the whole, on this situation. Again, I was very surprised that this caught a lot of fire, so I figured I might as well get my opinion on it. This is not just because I'm a man of color, so I figure I should talk about it a bit, because I care about Bubba Wallace. And Bubba Wallace, I don't think he's gonna be the Tiger Woods of NASCAR, but I do believe he's gonna have a big impact on the sport. And by Tiger Woods of NASCAR, I know like he is the only African American, but I don't know if he's like the Tiger Woods, where Tiger Woods just dominated golf. I don't see Bubba Wallace dominating NASCAR. I do believe he might have an impact, but not dominate. That's why I wouldn't really label him the Tiger Woods of NASCAR. But yeah, that's just my thoughts. To me, what do you guys think about Whitlock's comments about what should Bubba Wallace do when his contract ends up at Richard Petty Motorsports? I would love to hear your guys' opinions in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Jake Ross from NASCAR on MDK, and I'll see you guys in the next video.